Hi friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. So today I decided I wanted to finally film a video taking a look at what my journaling and planning system is going to be for 2024. I did do this a year ago, so I will link that video up in the cards if you're interested in taking a look. But I just kind of wanted to talk through what I'm doing that's going to be the same as last year. There are a couple of new things that I have adopted compared to where I was at this time last year, and I'm really excited and enjoying what I've got going on for 2024. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to start with planners and sort of more structured journal type activities, and then go from there into just taking a look at what my unstructured journal has been looking like for the past year. So first, to talk about just day-to-day planning for things related to my professional life. 2023 was the first year since I was in school decades ago that I actually did any paper planning and kept a paper planner. When I was working, I used Outlook for just about everything. I always worked in places that were very meeting heavy environments where everybody used their Outlook calendar for everything. And so it never made sense for me to keep a paper planner because it would just be duplicative of everything I already had in Outlook. But when I quit my job in 2022 and started running my Etsy shop, I realized that what I really needed is a paper planner that I could carry around with me easily, and that was also not so structured like day to day, but gave me a lot of space to be able to sort of plan out longer term goals, to-do lists, that kind of thing. Because, you know, my day wasn't so much taken up by morning to night appointments the way that it was when I was working. It was more that, you know, any given week I had a list of goals for what I needed to accomplish. And so it turned out that the Hobonichi Weeks was perfect for this. And so I did end up getting a new weeks for 2024. I got this one. This is the dark navy blue one, and then I got this light in the distance clear cover to go on top of it, which I think is really, really beautiful. It just is what struck me when I was looking at what was out there as far as, you know, the new planner designs. They had some really, really cool, cute ones, but I just really liked this. And I know that this was a previous year's design, but I'd kind of regretted that I had missed out on it. So I went ahead and picked one up since they were available. Last year, what I did is they have these little tabs that you can kind of punch out of the cover, and you can put a Velcro dot on them and then put another Velcro dot on the back of the book and use this little tab to kind of wrap around and keep the whole planner closed. But because, you know, this cover has a design on it and I didn't want to mess up the design by putting a Velcro dot on it, I went ahead and got myself one of these little page keepers. They slip in the back pocket of the clear cover and then give you a little elastic band that you can wrap around to either hold your page down or keep it closed. So I'm pretty much using this exactly the same way as I used it last year. It's got this front index pair of pages where basically you have a tiny little space for each day of the year and a little bit of extra space per month up at the top. I use this to track financial info for my shop. So basically I can keep track of like how many sales I make per day, as well as how much money I make. You know, for each month I sort of put a grand total of what I've made for the month at the top. So that's why I've got this covered up, just because it's financial information. But it's really handy just to sort of like keep a sort of, you know, running tally of how much I've made over the course of the year. And I also keep track of like days that I do a shop drop, days that I have maybe closed for vacation, stuff like that, just so that I can sort of see, you know, how sales are going and just kind of keep track of that. So that's really handy. This, by the way, is just airband blotting paper. I keep sheets of blotting paper between frequently used pages in all of my planners and journals, just because I use fountain pens and I don't want anything to, you know, smear or transfer. So I just cut out little pieces that are the right shape to fit inside of my books and then just sort of keep them there because they last for a really, really long time. The Weeks also has a monthly calendar, and so this is just something that I use to keep track of appointments or obligations or plans that I've made with people, birthdays, that kind of thing. You know, anything that I need to recall, you know, that's sort of like long off in the distance, I keep in that monthly calendar page. So the Hobonichi Weeks also, as the name would suggest, has weekly pages. I'm just turning to one that I'm not using here, just so that you can sort of get a sense of how I use it. Basically, what I do is over on the left-hand side here, again, it's, you know, a little space per day, and it gives me a place to put in any appointments, you know, specific plans, specific schedules of things that I want to do that day, all gets kept track of over here. But again, because I'm running my own tiny small business, and I don't have things that are so much like day dependent, but any given week I have a list of to-dos and goals and things that I want to accomplish. This right hand page that's just sort of blank grid paper is where I keep all of those things. And so any given week, it's almost a little bit of a bullet journaling method, I guess. You know, I make a list of all my to-dos. If it's something that I don't get done and I need to transfer it over to the next week, I have markings that I make for that, and just sort of keep that running to-do list here so that I can see exactly what I've accomplished and make sure that I'm accomplishing all of the things that I want to accomplish. And then in the back of the weeks as well, there's a number of pages. I think there's like 70 some pages of just blank grid paper. And this is, you know, what I use for things that are not necessarily date sensitive, but long-term future planning, any kind of, you know, lists of things that I want to look into or experiment with, or just, you know, any kind of sort of far future thoughts that I have that I want to keep and, you know, turn them into to-dos eventually, I keep back here. I don't know if you guys recall, but if you take a look at my video from last year, I did have a second weeks that I was using for tarot stuff. Basically, I was using it to track my daily draws, and I was also using it as sort of a content planner for the channel. As you probably noticed, I don't make content regularly enough to really need like a full separate planner to be a content planner, and I also didn't particularly like having my tarot draws documented in the weeks, specifically because it didn't give me enough space to actually journal about any given daily draw, especially because I started using Oracle more. And so most days I was drawing at least one tarot card and one Oracle card. And these little spaces in the weeks were just not enough room to actually do any kind of meaningful journaling about that. So about halfway through the year, I switched things around, and I got a new planner, which I'll show you next, for how I was doing all of my tarot journaling and daily draw tracking. And then anything related to content, I just moved into my regular planner. And a lot of that too is because a lot of the content that I make nowadays is things like scheduled lives or scheduled filming appointments that I have. You know, it was better for me to have those appointments in the same book as my other appointments, just so that I would, you know that I didn't have any conflicts with any of my other existing appointments. And so in the back pages, I also keep things like, you know, video filming notes, and I do track in the calendar what days I post videos and things like that. So basically content planning, as well as just business planning, daily life planning, anything day to day where I need to know what I'm supposed to be doing, all lives inside of the weeks. So that is what I am using it for. For the pen here, this is a Platinum Preppy. This is a Preppy Wa, which is sort of a special edition Preppy. This is like their modern Maki-e series. I think it's so pretty with this. So last year I was using Pilot pens with my planners, but I discovered over the course of the year that my favorite ink to use in my Hobonichis was Platinum Carbon Black. Like it dries fast on Hobonichi paper. It doesn't smear very much. It's just a really good, solid, and also permanent ink to use in these kinds of planners. And the Carbon Black just didn't play well with my Pilot pens. And I don't know if that's just because of the particular ones I have, or if other people have ever had this experience. I don't know, but they were always just sort of skipping and clogging, and it just didn't work very well. Unsurprisingly, the Platinum Carbon Black ink works really great in Platinum pens. And again, I don't know why that is, but something about it, it flows really well, and I never have issues with clogging or hard starts or anything like that in Platinum pens. And I think that might have something to do with the way that the cap is really airtight. So I mostly have been using Carbon Black ink with Platinum pens in my Hobonichis, just because I really like that pen and ink combination. So my Pilot pens I have not been so much using as planner pens sort of over the last 2/3 of last year and going into this year. So as I mentioned, about halfway through last year, I did move all of my tarot stuff, including daily draw tracking and journaling and content planning, out of my separate Hobonichi weeks. And I moved all my content planning into my existing weeks that I was already using to track all my other day-to-day stuff. But for my tarot daily draw tracking and journaling about my daily draws, I moved that into one of these. This is an A6 Hobonichi Techo. This is the Avec, which for 2023, again, because it was halfway through the year when I decided to do this, I got the Avec, which is divided into 2 books. It comes with a January through June book and then a July through December book. I was starting this basically in July, and so I knew that I didn't want to have like a full chunky book that had like half unused pages up at the front. So I got the Avec. The January through June book is just being used for scrap paper basically, and I only filled in the July through December book. But this, I found out, I'm not going to flip through this because it has a lot of personal stuff in it. It has all my tarot draws and everything like that, but I'll show you in my new one how I've been using this. So for 2024, I stuck with something very, very similar. Basically what I got is the Hobonichi Techo Planner. The one that's actually called the Planner is an English language version. It has some differences from the regular Techo as far as its layout and colors and the grid size, which was the most important thing to me. But I'll show you in this one how I'm using it. And this is how I used it all year last year as well. This is a pretty sticker that I got from Sarah at Waterchild Tarot. Thank you so much, Sarah. But so the way that this works, I also have a little pencil board for this one as well, this is such a pretty, I love this dandelion pattern. But this also has the little daily index up at the front. And this is where I literally just track my tarot card for the day. And I've got it all sort of color coded. Over here, I've got a little multi-pen gel pen that I use for all the color coding, so it's basically majors in black, cups in blue, pentacles in green, swords in purple, and wands in red. So that's what I keep up here, and this is just a sort of easy way at a glance to be able to kind of track what are my repeating cards for the month, what is my most drawn suit for the month, those kinds of things. And then I keep that information all up at the top. I've got like a little shorthand that I use to keep track of all that. What I've also got marked up here is my cards for each month that I drew when I did my year ahead reading and drew a card for each month. So that's what I've got up front here. It does have a monthly calendar. And so what I keep track of here over on the left, I keep track of what decks I'm using for each given week, just because I'm trying to make more of an effort to rotate my decks and really pay attention to, how long I'm using them for. And when I am feeling the urge to switch to another one, I've been trying to give most decks at least a month of working with them, but sometimes I don't always make it through the whole month, and I just like to keep track of what I'm using. The other nice thing is that Hobonichi planners do come with moon phases. Because they are keyed to the Japanese time zone, they're not always correct to what the time zone would be in the United States where I live, but so you can see sometimes I have to cross it out and make a note. But I've just made a note of like what the various lunar observances are, and so this just helps me keep track of what days I might want to do a specific reading for some kind of lunar occurrence or astrological event. I might, as time goes on and I learn more about astrology, start keeping track of some more additional astrological events in this calendar. For now, it's really just full of new moons because that's basically the extent of my understanding. And again, I'm just going to flip back any pages that I've actually used and just sort of show you the way that this is laid out is for every given day, there is a full page, which is just enough for me to indicate, what cards I drew for that day and do a little bit of journaling about what bearing they might have had on my day that day. The way that I do this is that I do this in the evening. I'm not a morning person, so I tend to do all of my daily tarot draws at night. And so what I do is I journal about my day for the cards that I drew that day, and then I draw my cards for the next day and indicate those. And this is just the perfect amount of space. It's a 5mm grid as opposed to a smaller grid, which I think the other Hobonichi planners have. And I just like the layout of this, and I really like the grid size, and this is just really nice for me for day-to-day journaling. And so I really like this as a way to keep track of my daily draws. It's super super, super functional for me. And I was very, very consistent with it when I was using this last year. And so I just decided to stick with the same formula this year, but just, you know, in the English language planner version, again, just because I thought I would prefer the layout and the grid size. This is another Platinum pen. Again, I mostly use Platinum Carbon Black ink in this. It works really, really well for me in these types of books. And so this is just a Platinum Plaisir. I got one in the pink to match this cover. Speaking of this cover, you guys might have seen me. I showed this book, and the cover that it was in when I showed it previously this past year was this one. And I love this cover, but when they came out with this cover this year, this is the Liberty Hollyhocks cover, I was just obsessed with it. I had to have this. This might be potentially one of the most beautiful fabrics I've ever seen in my entire life. And I also love hollyhocks because we had them in the backyard in the house that I grew up in. And so I saw this cover, I absolutely had to have it. But that left me with this extra cover with a pen to go with it and a pencil board and everything. And so I came up with a different use for this cover, which I'll show you next. But this has been just a perfect way for me to, again, keep track of what I'm doing day to day in terms of tarot. The mere fact of using this style of planner to do my daily tarot tracking has made me, in a way, a lot more consistent about that practice, and really feel like I'm getting more out of it because I'm spending more time and space really thinking through the bearing that those draws have on my daily life. And so I really, really have been loving this, and I'm so happy that I started doing this again about halfway through last year. It just worked out great for me, and I want to continue in 2024. But so you may be wondering then, okay, what the heck did I do with this extra cover that I had banging around since I bought a brand new cover? And what I ended up doing, I had kind of a bug in my head for a while about the concept of creating like a media tracker, basically a journal where I can keep track of how much reading I'm doing, what books I'm reading, you know, when I'm starting and finishing them, as well as other things like TV, movies, podcasts, basically any kind of media I'm consuming. And part of the reason for that, I used to be very active on Goodreads. I don't review stuff on Goodreads as much anymore, just because I don't know. I don't like randos like coming into my comments and having opinions about the reviews I wrote. Like, I don't know. Authors see them sometimes. I don't really care for writing extensive reviews on Goodreads anymore. And I also like writing reviews of the movies and TV shows and everything that I watch. And you can't do that on Goodreads, obviously. So I decided to start a media planner. So what I got here is a Hobonichi Day Free. And so basically what I've been doing up here, I actually started this back in December. I've been keeping track of every day that I read. I might start tracking other stuff here. You can see that these front indexes have plenty of space to have like multiple columns of checkboxes if you want to. But for now, I'm just keeping track of, did I actually read a book that day? I did really well in December. I think I've actually skipped a couple days here so far in January, but I'm doing quite well. So that was an important goal for me. So for the monthly calendars, I still don't feel like I have a great way of doing this yet. I've been trying to use this to sort of keep track of the days that I start and finish particular things, whether it be a book, a TV series, a movie, whatever. And I feel like I haven't figured out like really a good layout or a good way of keeping track of that stuff yet. I don't really mind. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like super precious about their journals and planners. Like, I don't care if I have to cross stuff out or if I change my system of how I'm keeping track of something halfway through the year because I discover that the way that I was doing it doesn't work well for me. That just kind of like doesn't faze me at all. I think partially it's just because I've been keeping journals for so long that all of them are an absolute mess. And it's like, I don't have a lot of concerns about having everything like look perfect or be have a perfect system to them right off the bat. So I might figure out better ways of keeping track of this stuff as time goes on. But like you can see here, for example, that between the 4th and the 7th, I watched season 6 of The Crown, and I started Queen Charlotte on the 8th, etc., etc. So that's what this initial monthly section has been for. And then in the back, because this is a day free Hobonichi. Basically, it has the index and the monthly pages up front, and then the rest of it is just made up of blank grid paper. It doesn't have a page for each individual day. And so what I've been doing is just using this paper for commonplacing and writing reviews. I've got you know, I mark down a book that I've read if there's any interesting quotes that I want to hang on to. I keep track of those. I write a little review, again, because I don't want to do that on Goodreads anymore. And then I started using this little star stamp to keep track of like the star ratings that I would give stuff, but this ink actually bleeds through really bad onto the other side of the paper. So I actually switched. I'll show you. Let me find it. I got a little Pilot Friction star stamp. These are super cute. And it's a little smiley face star. So I can use this to give star ratings, and this one doesn't actually bleed through to the other side of the paper. So, anyway, so it's so cute. I love my little media planner. I can keep track of, you know, star ratings that I give to stuff and write down interesting quotes, write down my reviews, and, you know, what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, keep track of when I started and finished things. And so I'm really excited about this. So this is a brand new thing for me this year. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, that was what I decided to use this cover for. And I also have the, pencil board by the same artist. This is another really awesome design that this same artist created. This is actually the design that was on the Weeks that I stopped using about halfway through last year, which really bummed me out. So I got this pencil board to go in this journal just so that I could have that design on something. So anyway, and again, this is another platinum pen, another platinum Plaisir. I'm using, again, carbon black ink in this one, and you know, I can always use other inks if I want to, but I generally tend to find that I use the pen that I have kept with the journal, and it almost always ends up being carbon black, which just honestly is a great ink. It is really, really well behaved in these Hobonichis, and so yeah, it's really good. So another journal that I kept throughout the entirety of 2023 and that I will be continuing into 2024 is my Hobonichi 5-year journal. This is an A5 size. This cover is from a shop on Etsy called Sakura Handcraft. I will put a link to the shop down in the description box. They are one of the few shops out there that seems to make covers actually specifically fitted for the Hobonichi 5-year, which is thicker than a regular Hobonichi A5, so you actually need a slightly bigger cover for them. And this shop makes beautiful, beautiful covers, and they also make cover on covers to fit. They're not the best fit, I will admit. It's a little loose on the fabric cover, but it still keeps the fabric protected, which is what I wanted it for in the first place, because this cover is absolutely stunningly beautiful. Again, we've got a platinum Plaisir pen that matches it. And so for the 5-year, it's just been great. Basically, every night I just sort of make some notes as far as what I did that day, write down a little bit about what went on, how I spent my time. I started doing this just because I recognized that my existing journal wasn't very good as far as memory keeping. Like, I don't write in it every day, and I don't tend to just make a note about like what happened that day and what did I do. You know, I didn't write about those things very often, and so it felt really nice to have a way every day to just sort of reflect on my day, write a few sentences about what happened to me, just so that my days aren't passing by completely unremarked on. And it makes me feel just this greater sense of being present in my life, I guess, just to give it that amount of thought every day, to think about what I did that day and to do a tarot draw and write about how that affected me that day. All of those things together are just helping me a lot, I feel like, with how I feel like days are passing by, and just being aware of what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time, and just feeling really present in my life. So I really, really like that. One thing that I did start partway through the year, which was really fun, I found these little stamps that Hobonichi sells, and they're just super cute. And so I started just using these little stamps each day to sort of like keep track of what the weather was that day. So I got these little weather stamps. Basically, you take off the little backing, and then you put the stamp down and you press the button, and it just puts the stamp on the paper. They're super cute. So every day I put a little stamp for the weather, and then I've got some other little stamps, just like, you know, did I have drinks with someone or a meal with someone? Did I go shopping? Did I get a present? Did I celebrate somebody's birthday or holiday? Did I get coffee? That kind of thing. So it's just like a nice little fun thing to do, to just sort of like commemorate each day and just give a little look at a glance as far as like what was the weather like and kind of what were some fun events maybe from that day. So it's a really fun daily practice. I've really enjoyed this a lot, and I'm so excited to be going into 2024, because the second year is when 5-year journals get really fun, because that's when you start writing on pages that you've already written on, and you can actually take a look back at what you did that same day the prior year. And again, it just gives you a little bit of just a little jolt of memory every day to think about what you were doing that time last year. So this is really great. I love it. I did really well in 2023, so I don't see any reason why I can't keep this going successfully in 2024, and just absolutely loving it. So as far as my regular long-standing stream of consciousness word barf journal, I spent basically the entire year in these minimalism art ones. This is one that I was in the midst of at the beginning of the year, and then I ended up, because Julie from Peekaboo Rose gave me these BTS stickers, I ended up buying a journal to match each one of the stickers she gave me. So so I have 4 of the same journal with the BTS stickers on them, and this is what I've been using all year. So I was in the middle of this one at the beginning of the year, filled this one up, and then this is the one that I'm in right now, and I'm pretty close to getting done with it. These only have 120 pages, so they just really don't take long to fill up. And I also, because I've been doing the HaloQuest course this year, there's a lot of journaling involved in that, and I've been doing all of that in just my regular journal, and so that's part of the reason why I think I've gone through so many. But anyway, these are great. They're fine. I'm probably not going to keep using these now after I've gone through all of my matching BTS sticker ones, because the paper in these is nice, and it's not bad for fountain pens. Like, it's nice and thick and there's no bleeding or feathering or anything like that, but it's not like optimal for fountain pens where, you know, it's a little too absorbent basically. And so if you have inks that have a lot of sheen or a lot of shading, they don't look as good on this paper. So after this one is full, I have a Rhodia already that I'm going to use for the next journal that I try. And then I also have a couple of blank books that have Tomoe River paper in them, which I know I like. So those are probably what I'll be using for my next couple. I probably won't buy any more of these, but at least I have all of the matching ones for my BTS stickers. These are just straight up basic lined blank books, which is what I've been using for my entire life, basically, for that sort of regular run-of-the-mill word barf about my life and my thoughts kind of journaling. And so, you know, these have been great. So that's what I have been using basically all year. So this little journal was another new thing that I started this year. I sort of had this just kind of like knocking around. I decided to go ahead and use this as a dedicated dream journal. So I started this in May. I think I've got it's about halfway filled up at this point. But basically, I used to write about my dreams just in my regular journal, you know, my regular kind of like word barf stream of consciousness journal. But I started to realize that what I really wanted to have was a journal where I could really just sort of like scribble in it in the middle of the night, you know, just like if I wake up in the middle of the night from a dream, to actually just write about the dream with my eyes half closed if I need to, and just get it down on paper before I forget. And you know, so this is something that I keep on my bedside table. This journal is not a good journal for fountain pen inks, which is why I hadn't used it quite yet. But what I discovered is that for dream journaling, I really would rather write in ballpoint, because I actually had a slight doze off while journaling experience once when writing about one of my dreams in my other journal with a fountain pen, and I got some nice dots of blue ink on my pillowcase and on my bedspread, which is fine. I mean, they're never going to come out, and it's no big deal. But I decided that I should probably write in ballpoint if there's any danger of me falling asleep in the middle of writing. And so this one I'm using just like a uni Jetstream ballpoint. I have a couple. This is just like a BTS themed one, and this is one of the ones that comes with an order from Hobonichi. This is one of the new ones from this year. The thing I like about the 3-color multi-pens is that I've started using them where each color sort of like represents kind of the overall mood of the dream, because, you know, sometimes when you go back and you read about a dream later on, like the sort of specific description of what happened doesn't necessarily capture what the overall feeling was of the dream. You know, like sometimes you can dream about a lot of things and it's hard to sort of describe that there was this like pervading sense of dread that you felt for the whole thing, where it was like a dream about innocuous things maybe seems more like a nightmare, or vice versa. You know, maybe I have a scary dream about a monster, but it's a nice monster. And, you know, just being able to capture the feeling of the dream, I decided to just kind of color code it. So I basically, if a dream is like neutral, I use black. If it's positive, I use blue. If it's negative, I use red. You know, just kind of an extra little thing to just sort of help me remember kind of what the mood was, you know, when I was dreaming about something in particular. So anyway, this has been really fun, and I've really enjoyed, you know, just keeping track of all of the weird and wacky things that I dream. It's fun to go back and read this thing. So anyway, that is my new dream journal. That's pretty much it as far as my journaling practice for 2024. It actually kind of seems like a lot of books now that I've got it all laid out in front of me, but I don't know, the system is working out really well for me. I feel like I've got a good place for everything, and as well as a kind of catch-all for everything that doesn't go somewhere else, and it's just really been working out, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So anyway, thanks so much for hanging out with me while we took a look at my journaling and planning system for 2024. I only talked a little bit about pens. I'll probably make a different video where I talk a little bit more about maybe kind of an updated fountain pen collection and, you know, what I've discovered that I preferred as the year has gone on. Again, I'm still fairly new to the fountain pen hobby, but I've been in it for, you know, about a year and a half at this point. So, you know, so I've definitely discovered some more things about what I prefer and what I enjoy. And so I'll probably make a separate video about that. And then I've also been intending for ages to do a video swatching all of the inks and ink samples that I have. So I will try to get that going as well. But anyway, thanks again for watching while we took a look at my journals and planners, and have a great one, and happy 2024, everybody. Bye-bye.